Hey guys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of No BS With Birchy podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Birch, and it's the show unraveling the truth to the facade of the 21st century. We're now exiting the matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality. Today, I have a special guest. We've got Patrick Madden from the investor relations team at B.Invested. Thanks, Pat.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Nath. Good to be here.
Good to see you too, Pat. When I saw we're having a catch-up today, I was like, this is great.
Here we go again.
I think, the intro is waking up to motherfucking reality, right? And I think, unfortunately, the reality of life for a lot of people is they're stuck. And if they want to live the dream, right, they have to go back to sleep because it's the only place they're going to fucking find it, right? They're not going to find it in the real world. And I guess around our neighborhood of where we help people and what we do, it's not just a dream. It's like, there's dreamers out there, but when you have the goals and you turn into an action plan attached to it, then you can turn that into a reality. So, today's discussion is how can you turn your dreams into a reality in 2025 and still achieve a level of the Aussie dream, right? And there's not many people that own 20 properties or 10 properties. Everyone's struggling to get one or two, but we see every week and every day people achieving their dreams by building out large portfolios. Maybe if you want to give the community that are new viewers here background just on yourself, what you do at B.Invested and your background, and we'll jump into it.
Sure. Well, I joined the team in mid-2020. I'm part of the investor relations team, and basically we just assist clients, new, existing clients, continue to build their portfolio.
Yeah,
and it's always relative to their goal and what they want as a final outcome. There are some people out there that all they want to do is just get into the property market, and that might just result in them doing one or two properties. Yeah. That's still pretty cool. Like if that's your goal, that's awesome.
We talk about it like, the first step is we'll buy 2 or 3 and then we'll get another 2 or 3.
That's right.
It's like everyone's position, starting point's different and end goal's different, but yeah.
Totally. And then of course you've got people that, have really big ambitions and want to get 10, 20 properties, 30 properties.
Yeah.
Who knows, however many they want, but it's always relative to that goal. So, I'm big on starting with the end in mind. So if someone says, I want 100,000 passive income, or 150 or 250, or I want to retire my wife, or I want to travel the world, whatever it is, we've got to start with that, work backwards, and really pick apart exactly what they actually need to get there. So
reverse engineer it. Yeah.
Totally.
So Pat, out of your clients, right, like how many properties do people come to you with, like when you're speaking to someone for the first time? What would be the average? Do they own 10 properties, or do they own 1 or none? Or
I would say the majority own 0. I would say a good portion own like their primary residence.
Yeah.
And then only 10, 15% probably own an investment property when they come to us. So
people think that like there's all these investment experts out there, right? They're all like, I'm reading every book and every forum and every whatever chat group and every podcast and whatnot. And they do all their research, and they're researching in all different types of properties, all different directions. They might buy a property, renovate it, build it, sell it, whatever. But when you think about it, like there's 20,000 people in the country with 6 or more properties. There's 2,500 with 10 or more. There's 172 people with 20 or more properties in their portfolio, right? Mm-hmm. And out of those 172 would know, 150 of them we could pick up the phone.
At least, yeah.
At least, right?
I'm thinking of names even as we're sitting here. I probably know,
I
don't know, at least 8, 9 or 10 of my active clients right now.
Still buying today, right? Yeah.
And the number's probably ticking up too.
Yeah.
Since that stat came out, I reckon we've probably had at least, 4 or 5 people that have ticked over the 20 mark.
Yeah. That's the cool numbers, because we create those investors, right? We create the most elite. We don't play in I'm the top investor out there in my pub, which has 2 properties or 3 properties. We're dealing with like intergenerational wealth that that's different than just buying a property, and that strategy is very important. So there is a big difference between 1 or 2 properties or 10 or 20 properties. The extra 0 is important, and most people get stuck at that 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Which we want to work and push through those barriers. So what's your biggest number of properties that a client's got?
I'd say young lady. She probably has about 40 odd.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact number, but I know it's 40.
It's
something.
over 40, yeah.
I know it's over 40.
Just bought one the other day.
Bought one the other day.
How old is she? When you say young lady, how old roughly?
She's early 30s.
Early 30s, yeah. She's probably like 30 when we met her.
Yep.
Maybe she's like 32.
Yep. And when we did meet her, by the way, it's end of 2024 now.
Yeah.
When we're recording this.
Yeah.
She came on board in 2021.
Yeah. So 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah. She came to us like one or two. Yeah.
Another gentleman, he's done 25 properties in the last 6 months.
25 and 6
He's
months.
Restructuring everything from a financial point of view.
Yeah.
He's about to buy a huge block of units.
Yeah.
But yeah, his restructure is going to enable him to probably do another 50 over the next 12 months.
That's pretty. And when did he buy his first one?
Yeah, it would have been, 7 or 8 months ago?
Within a year, right?
Yeah.
Because people come from nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? So, but people think, oh, you need to have $1 million to get there. You've got to have money to make money. I guess it's like, it's all about luck. Just ask any loser, right? It's like people out there, have these self-limiting beliefs of why they can't do it or, why it's not them and excuses. But it's only a few. Like when you really break it down, we've got 25, 26 million. How many people have immigrated this week? Wherever the number lands, it's 25, 26, 27 million people in this country. And for 172 to have 20 or more in their portfolio, like there's success that leaves clues and scraps along the way to be like, okay, what do those people do that's different than me, and how can I be those people? And
it's definitely there is certainly what I've found as a common trait is that there is that difference of perspective in terms of what's required to actually own that many assets or properties as well. Like the reality is some people get a little bit freaked out or nervous or overwhelmed maybe if they own 2 or 3 properties.
Yeah.
Or there are some people that have no properties but could do a lot and they do nothing because they get overwhelmed with maybe the insignificant detail. But those who have, 20 or more, there certainly is a common thread with their approach and their perspective of they need to build the asset base. If they don't do it now, when? And if it's later, then it's just going to be more expensive. So, bugger it, let's do it now.
They understand how money works. So that's a part of the system, right? If you need to know how you're going to win a war, right, or win a battle or win a game or whatever, you need strategy. You need to go, okay, well, what does my component have? What's my enemy got? What's the system? So understanding how the currency, how the system works, understanding how inflation works, understanding where you're starting from, and then I guess having a goal, like people call them goals. I look at it as a business plan. It's a business plan for your life. People are planning more for their next holiday or late night shopping or party on the weekend or Christmas or whatever than what they are thinking, I'm fucking trapped in a 40-year cycle of never-ending feedback loop of eating shit and having to go back to work and pay taxes and fit into the system. Then what they're thinking of, how the fuck can I get out of that prison that we're born into? So I guess if we look at that goal, what do you think that, if someone was starting out and let's say we're clearing the slate, it's the end of 2024, it started 2025, what are some of the things people that you've seen from the successful clients that you've got and where they come from nowhere and just go, bang, we're going to make it happen? What are some of the things people should be planning for and thinking of differently? You touched on assets. Like, I think that when I see someone get 2, 3 or 4 properties, which is good, I say it like, oh, sorry, you've only got 3 or 4, right? And it's the fact, right? Because people can get 20, 30, 40. I was talking to a guy yesterday, he's at 2, and I was like, you need to get 20. And if you don't get to 20, you screwed up, not me, right? And he's got these properties that have doubled and tripled in the last couple of years. I'm like, just if you had 10 or 20 of these, right? And everybody's mindset is different. Some people just look at, this guy's just analyst paralysis, right? Mm-hmm. But if you look at most people, they're looking at, I want to get a property, right? And the ones that get 2 or 3 or 4 are just looking at that property's got to be a nice one. It's got to be a house. It's got to be this. It's got to be in this location. It's got to be near me, and not looking at it's just a bit of stock. Mm-hmm. Who gives a shit? It's just a property. It's a vehicle. It's a car. It's a utensil. We're looking at utensils.
I think that's a bit of the light bulb moment as well.
Yeah,
like it was even for me as well. I remember in the early days. some of the some of the properties that came across,
Yeah.
you know, the presented options.
Yeah.
Even I was kind of scratching my head going, geez, Nath, you sure? And now, you know, of course, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but we look back and that was 150 grand. Now it's selling for 400,000, like happy days. But, you know, once you make that shift, that almost mental shift past, it doesn't matter what the asset is. It's about what it's going to do and what it will do for you. Like what's its purpose in your portfolio?
Yeah.
And that's also kind of, I think, the skill that certainly you bring to the table is to be able to suggest, hey, we need this property in your portfolio. It doesn't matter if it's a unit house, townhouse, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We need this in your portfolio because it's going to help you to get to there. Yeah. As opposed to someone saying, no, I only want a house for whatever.
Houses go up in value, they're better.
Yeah,
right?
units never go up in value, right?
Oh, okay. When you said that about questionable deals, right, I laughed, right? I still can't stop laughing back because when you first came to B.Invested to work here, there was a property that I had. It was like $7,000 for a 2-bedroom unit. You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly
those things are like $100 grand now or something, right? And it's ugly. It's shit, right? It's nothing sexy. But
say that again. $7,000.
$7,000, right? Your credit card. You can put on your credit card, right? Like it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's
ridiculous. Yeah.
Ridiculous. And people, you know, people bought it and people didn't buy it. And it's like, well, I don't even know what these people that didn't buy it. If they're watching this, you should be thinking, oh, why the fuck didn't I buy it, right? And reassess. And I think you should always reassess and be like, where did I go wrong? How come I didn't do it? I should have done it. Like, if anyone's watching this and I've ever sent them a deal and they've said no for whatever reason, right? It's a little task for everyone. Go back now and look at what that property would be worth and go, well, what was holding me back? Because it's all just mindset shit, right? Once you get the plan right, once you got the strategy right, you got, you know, your finance strategy, you know how you're going to get there. It's a framework to go, okay, I just need to insert the inputs, you know, deposit, loan, purchase, rent. That's it.
There's I won't give away too much, but there's a particular region at the moment and a particular complex in that region we were discussing. Yeah. We bought probably 2 years ago for about 200,000. Ranged between 200 250, right?
Yeah, they're brand new. They're like 5 years old. Yeah.
I remember, and I don't want to dwell too much on clients that came on board and didn't do deals. But I think it's important to kind of unpack the decision-making process, right?
Because if you don't do that, right, you're saying you don't want to dwell on it, right? But if you don't look at things, you don't identify it, zoom in on it, pull it up and look at it, it's like we can just sit here and say things that are like great and all sound good, but then there's like, you're lying. Like, it's like if I look at the photos from these podcasts and stuff, I look like a fucking bloated ass, right? I'm fat as fuck, right? And I look at them, I don't ever want to see them, but I thought at the time, like, I'm too busy, eating too much Maccas, whatever. And I just didn't even want to look in the mirror because I was denying the fact that, hey, I'm fucking fat fuck, right? So I look at it now and like, that was me lying to myself that I wasn't happy. I just didn't want to look at it, right? It's like most people are broke and they're like, oh, just park it aside. Let's talk about it later, right? And it's like you sweep all the things you don't want to do under the rug. You need to look at that. So I think it's important.
I remember a particular conversation that I had when you presented one of these deals. Yeah. Then these are beautiful, right? They're modern. You can't really fault them. Okay?
They're 220, 230 price.
2-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
2-bed, 2-bath. Less than 10 years old. They're now selling 1-bedders for 350, 2-bedders for 380. They'll probably touch on 450 shortly. Like I can see the direction going there. Yeah. Renting for 500, 550. They're renting for 350, 380 at the time. Go on.
And so the main reason for this person, and probably more, but this person in particular, for not doing the deal is because they said, why would I buy there? It's actually gone down in value from the person who I'm buying it from. You know, they bought it in 2012 for, I don't know,
300,
whatever it was, 300 or 350, and now it's gone. The whole market's gone down in value, and we're picking it up for 210. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really want to be buying in a market that's going down. That was their justification. And granted, that's an education piece of it, and it's also just like understanding markets. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
my question to him, and maybe I wasn't as experienced at the time, but my question for him now would be, well, what's the alternative? Do you want to buy in a market that's at its peak? Of course not.
Exactly.
Right? Rhetorical question. But
that's why we're contrarian investors, right? We do different to the market, right? Like we're buying in the Gold Coast. People used to laugh at me and say, why would you buy in the Gold Coast for? It's done nothing for a decade. And I was like, this is a Miami of Australia, right? This is where it's all at. And those things have gone from 200 grand to 600 grand.
Yeah.
The units that don't go up in value went from 200 to 600. The rents that were 300 are now 700. And all these people that bought 10, 15, 20 are retired, right? And all the people that had their opinions are still, I wish I did it. I should have done it. I should have bought more. I shouldn't have sold, whatever. But people coming into the market now, like the chance of 200 grand going to 400 grand is much better than something that's gone from 200 to 600. What's the chance of it going from 600 to 1.2 and doubling? It's like you're buying the dud, right? You're being the person from 10 years ago that paid 300 at the peak of the previous cycle. So as a contrarian investor, I'm looking for value, and I look at all these regional areas. Everyone's like, oh, boom, just going to these regional areas, they must be going to boom. I'm like, you guys are fucked, right? Like I was there before it happened, right? You want to go to the areas that I can find much better values in Sydney than, I don't know, Gladstone, right? You're buying Sydney cheaper than I can buy in Gladstone today. And it's like, you're fucking buying Gladstone for that price. Yeah, it's good value and good fundamentals, but I can find better value in Sydney. So I'd rather take the Sydney than I would there.
Yeah. The other thing as well, I feel like people are often kind of once bitten, twice shy. I often have clients that have maybe bought it off the plan or gotten advice from someone else, whether it be a friend, relative, or another company perhaps.
Yeah.
And their I suppose bias on the type of properties they're presenting is much more kind of from a self-interest point of view. Like they might get a big old commission, right? So yes, they're pushing you toward the expensive property and packaging it up looking all beautiful and nice and shiny and everything like that. And actually selling the fact that, oh, you're only going to have to pay $250 a week just to hold this. That's nothing.
You just break it down, right? And this is the importance. Like, we'll jump into the specifics about having a goal and a business plan, right? Because if, as a business, right, just say at B.Invested, we employ the wrong staff member in the team or whatever that takes us back 5 steps, it's no good. As an investor, you need to be thinking, what is this investment doing for my portfolio? If you don't have goals, you don't have a business plan for your strategy, how do you know what you're adding in? You're just hoping, you're just buying because you're thinking of what's good. And I think about that, right? Because I had someone yesterday I spoke to, and if they're watching this, here's some feedback I forgot after I called to explain to you. That a property that's negative, like to the house in Brisbane, I think, should they knock it over? Should they subdivide it, whatever? And I was like, look, that's your problem. They've got these other properties around it. I didn't buy this deal for them. And it was like a big cash flow burn. They're thinking of selling some properties to fix the cash flow. And I'm like, that's your problem. You need to address that one. And I thought about it. I was like, even if they rent this thing out for $800 a week, it's still going to be negative $800 a week, right? That's 40 grand a year, right? You hold this property that's negative 40 grand a year for 10 years, right? You just go, oh, it's only $800 or it's a potential, hopefully, maybe. And they said, oh, the agent said it's got potential for growth. I'm like, that thing needs to go up 40 grand a year just to break even without you losing the opportunity cost of that 40 grand you're losing. So when you say like over 10 years, it needs to go up 400 grand just to break even. So if you're losing $100, $200 a week, $200 a week, 10 grand a year, 10 grand a year, that's, 10 years, 100 grand. That thing must go up 100 grand just to get you back to the point that you had today, but you had a ball and chain around your neck for the last decade that's held you back from spending time with your kids or retiring or whatever. So I guess if someone's starting out in 2025, what sort of goals could they be setting? What would they need? If you had a new call today, ring, ring, thanks for calling B.Invested, it's Patrick speaking, okay? What would be the entry point for me to come to be able to do business with us in 2025?
Entry point in terms of the capital that you'd have, I'd say absolute minimum. Sometimes there's an exception, but I'd say a minimum for a safe level would be 40K.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, there are the anomalies.
You got one that 20 grand at the start of this year. Yeah, 20 grand, bought a $68,000 property for him.
Yeah.
Rents for $300 a week, right? But 40K, and that'll get you the first step on the chessboard, right?
Yep.
You need 10 properties to retire. And we say it like there's a big amount of properties. It's just like, 2 battered salves, 3 fish cocktails, 2 potato scallops, potato cakes if you're from Victoria or somewhere weird that calls it a different thing, a bag of chips, 2 hamburgers. Like, we talk about it as nothing, but it is, right? Like 40K gets you in a deal. How can you get 40K, right? You can come to us with 40K. You can have it in equity. You might go, I'm shit out of luck, I'm broke, right? I've got no money, right? Then you go, okay, well, I bought my house for 600, now it's worth 800. There's 200 grand equity there. We could use that. There's 3 or 4 deposits to get you going. Everybody's starting point is different. Everyone's end position is different. But if you just had 40K, came in, spoke to Pat, we work out a strategy, then you speak to me, then I find the property that fits what you need. Most people think the property's the end goal, but the property's just the vehicle to get you across that chessboard, right? No point
scratching the surface.
Exactly, right?
The first deal, it's like, whew, I got my first deal, I'm done. I'm like, no, mate, we're just getting started. Don't get too comfy.
It's exactly right. And literally the day after someone settles, like I reckon 50% of the time I send an email just saying, hey, get back to the finance company, let's pull some equity, let's go again. And like when you break it down, like that one step, like it's a big thing, right? Like just before the podcast, I had someone call me and go, oh, Pester Built, like just a Fred, right? And I was like, oh, I'll call you afterwards, right? I just wanted to ask you about their principal place of pest and building inspection. It's it's emotional, right? One big step for that first thing, but that's only 10%. But you are 10% of the way just by taking the one step. If you take on the biggest fucking thing you can and try and take on $1 million property and it's the wrong thing, you're fucked. You're stuck there for 10 years because you didn't look at what you needed. You didn't plan that out.
Correct.
And 9 times out of 10, people don't plan for the strategy. They plan to buy a property and the broker says they can borrow 500, so they go and buy a property for 500 or even 600 and stretch themselves as far as they can. When that's not the best move. It could be, but it might be more that, okay, I can spend 600, I'm going to spend 200, I'm going to spend 300 today. Then I can pull out equity and buy a second one, and then pull out equity and get a third one. Yeah.
Also, what I've found in this environment that we've been having over the last 2 years of high interest rates, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Is the portfolios that we've been building, they've also given these people, our investors, opportunity to manage their risk as well, right? So the reality is some people have found themselves in a position where, the expenses and maybe just their personal life, family commitments, whatever it might be, have required them to let go of a property or two.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just life. But like you say, if you go and buy a $700,000, $600,000, $1 million property, and that's your cap, that's your property, that's your portfolio.
Yeah.
If you need, as a risk management or risk mitigation kind of strategy, if you need to access funds, number one, your servicing's capped, so there's no way you can tap into any of that equity.
Yeah.
So really, you're just cornered.
Yeah.
Now you've got to sell your portfolio.
Yeah.
Whereas I wouldn't say it's very many, but I'd say maybe 3 or 4 of my clients over the last 2 years have had to sell one property just to free up some cash. But they've already got 12.
Yeah.
So they sell one.
It's nothing.
They walk away with 150 grand and they haven't really made too much of a dent. They didn't want to sell.
Yeah.
But it's something that, these types of portfolios can allow you to do. It's almost an insurance policy, on your investments,
The word that I'd have for that is liquidity. They're highly liquid, right? They're highly liquid. And that's why these little cheapies have doubled whilst most stuff's been sitting stagnant, right?
Yep.
Because there's liquidity in that market and in that section of the pond. I was actually, on that note, I was chatting to one of Jeremy's clients the other day, and he sold one recently. We bought it for him and he only held it for 6 months. And I was like, sell it, right? If that's what you need to do. And he sold it. And it was an interesting story because he was at I remember speaking to him for his first one. I was buying Cooktown Motel back in the day for myself. And I was out there at Cooktown, and then we were having our map session on the road. And and he got about 18, 19 properties in the last 3 years or so. And then this one, his servicing was all tied up, and he needed some cash, so he bought it for 150 in Cairns, sold it for 300,000 straight away within 6 months, and that enabled him to go back, free up his servicing, refinance to the big four banks, pull out like $500,000 worth of equity, build himself a nice buffer, and now he's buying a block of 3 units cash from that.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then that cash is like $1,000 a week. So that's for 3 properties.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I think in terms of, just to go back on like the goals setting and starting from a particular point, we bang on about growth and the great thing about properties, which of course is a huge component of what we do, and that's the whole point of why we're even here, right? But I think it's super important, and I also think that it's sometimes overlooked, is the risk management, you know, or maybe the exit strategy. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be one exit strategy. Yeah. The whole reason for these portfolios to be sustainable is also for them to, you know, to give you options. Yeah. Whether that's to proceed, whether it's to kind of recalibrate things and keep moving forward, you know, that's what it's all about. So
one of your clients, I've been working with him for 14 years or so now. He's retiring this month. We should have a party for him, right? So he's just went and I'll get another 3 blocks of units before we retire. Yeah. So he's pushing it hard, right? There's another 20 tenants on the way out, right? I guess on that question about like the clients, the goals and that, what sort of percentage of people do you reckon would come to you, Pat, and say, this is my goal, this is my plan for acquisition? Do they come to you when someone picks up the phone and calls B.Invested and you're speaking to them? Do they come to you going, I need to get 150 grand a year, I need to buy 7 properties, 15 properties, whatever? Or do they go, hey, this is where I'm at, what can I do? Like, what sort of
definitely the latter. If it seems though as if someone comes to us with a strategy of their own, it's more like they come to us with a shopping list. Yeah. And it's harder, although it's still welcome, that's fine. You know, we welcome everyone. Yeah. But it's harder when someone comes with a preconceived idea of what they need. Yeah. Because then we have to pull them back and untangle what they believe, I suppose, rather than someone who comes in essentially with no idea. Yeah. With a clean slate and just say, look, I don't know how to get there, but in 5 years I want to get to 100 grand. Yeah. That would be amazing.
I see those people that you're talking about, right? And they come to us and they're like, this is how it is. And what I think, if someone's come to us when they've got 1 property, 2 property, no property, 4 properties, got an uncle, a auntie, a friend, a cousin's got no properties, right? And they're taking advice from them, or they've heard some guru that's got nothing, or a studio gangster, right? They're coming to us with what they want. And what they want and what they need is 2 different things. Mm-hmm. If I said, Pat, you know, you got kids and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. You got a family. If I said to you, Pat, you got $250,000 to spend, here's a 2-door sports car, Lambo, I don't know, something, right? Sports car, right? You'd be like, that's what I want, right? I want a sports car today, right? You'll be like, no, I want fucking 5 properties. There's 5 deposits, right? But let's just assume you want a car and we've got all this money, right? What you want is a sports car. I'm just making it up, right? But what you want could be a sports car. But then where's the kids, the groceries, the holiday, the caravan, and the missus going to be inside the vehicle, right? And what you want and what you need can be 2 different things. And your vehicle on your journey, like everybody's journey is different. Everybody's vehicle is different what they need. And I think that that's probably the biggest killer of people's goals, is having an opinion of this is what's best. The house is better. The units are no good. They don't go up and say, hang on a second. Like I've got 99% of the country's wealthiest Australians that we've created here at B.Invested, and they've followed our fucking strategy and they've kicked mad goals, right? And you're coming in telling me your goals are better when you've got 1 property or no property or 2 properties. Like, why do you need us for? Go and do it yourself. That's right? Go use realestate.com. Go buy it. Use your broker, right? But there's a reason why there's those stats that are there, and we've got our name attached to all of them. And there's a reason why there's lots of people that aren't there, right? And if you do what everyone else has got, you'll get what everyone else has got. And if you want to be the 0.00001% of Australians that have 10, 6, 20 properties in your portfolio, then you have to be different to the other fucking 90. Everyone's, let's buy a house. Let's buy a house with a granny flat, right?
Our favourite combo.
Yeah. A house with a granny flat, I'll get dual income. Yeah, but you ain't fucking looked at any financials. Where you getting your economic model from and your data to plan out as your end goal? You haven't even looked at your end goal. You just look at it. I always ask people when they get stuck at that point, Pat, is, okay, cool. So I've told you this option. You're telling me yours. Tell me what's the next steps. How are you going to get there? I've got all day. Let's tell me, right? Oh, well, I just hope it's going to. Okay, cool. So you know about your servicing is going to get capped out next. Oh, no, it'll be okay. Will it now? Let's look at your servicing. What's your servicing going to look like? What's your finance going to look like? What's your cash flow going to look like? What's your management going to look like?
I reckon it also comes down to, because you've seen it over the years, over the 2 decades that you've been helping people. People have come to you sometimes with set goals, sometimes with just one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Right? But you've seen it time after time that it's essentially a proven strategy, and what we do works and is effective if you follow it like a recipe.
Yeah.
Right? But I think it comes down to, sometimes people will say, oh yes, let's say for example, they say, I want 100 grand passive income.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, this is what you got to do. They don't do it. So to me, I don't think that really, truly, deep down, that they actually believe that it's even possible, right? So the 100,000, that sounds nice, that's good.
Yeah.
But they probably don't even believe that they can get there. So that doubt creeps in, and therefore, why would I put myself in this kind of unknown territory? Hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
But also unknown territory in terms of the property that we're buying, because we do buy in places where you might not be familiar with as an investor.
Yeah.
And so it starts with to me, it starts with being so set on the goals that you actually want, so that you don't deviate from the plan to actually get there.
Yeah.
And then also, let's not forget, what happens when you do get that 100,000 a year?
Yeah.
What then? Okay, cool. You can retire. You don't have to go to work.
Yeah.
But what then? You're just going to sit on the couch and watch bloody Days of Our Lives or something?
OnlyFans nowadays, I think people watch that.
Maybe.
I watch that stuff,
each
but
their own.
you know, we actually got some clients that are on there.
We do. But they do pretty well. Right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's important for people who are striving to get an extraordinary result, like retiring before they're 30, to also have some kind of purpose to follow on from there. Like, you're a perfect example, right? You retired when? 24 something? Now, you could have probably gone and done whatever you wanted to do, you know, in terms of like working. You don't have to be here helping people like build their own wealth. You could be out doing whatever, you know, you want to, but then but you have a purpose, right? There's something that's driving you.
Exactly. Like it like I get excited. Like I live life on my terms. You see that, right? Every day when we're doing stuff, but I'm doing it with like, you know, I could be working from my beach house. I could be working from the office. I could be doing deals. I could be doing different things. But actually thinking back to when I quit my job back in 2009, I found myself, I took up smoking cigarettes, right? Because it was cool, right? I just went out on the front porch and had some smokes, and an old lady that's a neighbour, been there for like 30 years at my mum's house, like growing up. She's across the road. She'd come over and she would got nothing to do with her life and be like, oh, Nathan, there you go, we'll have a smoke. Crack out a Jack Daniels, right? I don't drink or smoke nowadays. I miss smoking. I like smoking, but it's not good for you. So you just don't do it, right? It's just like the habits, the healthy habits. But I realized that, like, what am I doing with my days? I quit my job and my mates were fucking finishing uni to get a job. Legit. They were fucking getting a job. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? And I had a bit of ego, so I started filming videos, and, you know, that's sort of where the story came from of where B.Invested started. But, you know, everybody's journey is different, and, you know, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Like, you know, not one story fits all.
What, on that note, like, what was your driver to keep on buying, right? So obviously you saw the benefit of investing. That's fine.
Yeah.
But what was kind of the driver? Was it just that because there must have been something outside of property, right? As you say, property is just the vehicle.
Yeah.
So is it that you hated the fact that you had to go work?
Oh yeah, I hated my job. That was fucked, right? Like I used to have to work. Like I was working in real estate, and I was like, "This is the shittest job. If I have to do this for 40 years, like I ain't gonna make it 40 years." I looked at all the people I worked around. I was like, "You're 60, you're 50. What the fuck have you done with your life, right?" I'm like, "I ain't gonna be you when I'm fucking 60. Well, what do I have to do, right? I need cash. I need cash flow. I need to." So it really solidified. Like I'll get the fuck out of here as quick as it could, right? I felt like Eminem in 8 Mile, right? This job thing ain't for me, right? But I was committed to doing whatever it takes. And getting back to something you said beforehand about people not having a belief system. I actually didn't believe that I could achieve it, but I'm like, I only give it all the fuck. I've got nothing to lose. If I've got nothing to lose, I'm going to be stuck in this shit life that I don't want to live. So I'll just throw it all in, right? I went all in, but I was so committed because I had clarity of what my plan would look like. It was like I'd run a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and I'd work out a plan B for a plan A and a plan B, C for a plan A and a plan A for a plan B and work out all these different scenarios. I'm like, I just need to fucking do that. Right? All right. And it was clear.
And so with that goal,
yeah,
or goals,
yeah,
was there a period of time maybe in like after your third property, fourth, fifth property, maybe even after your first, were you like, oh, there's a challenge here. There's a building and pest report that's not perfect.
Oh mate, I'll tell you.
There's a this, or there's
this.
Were there reasons for you not to continue? I mean, there's reasons every day.
Fucking scared as, right? I'll tell you what happened, right? So if anyone wants to go, I had a shit experience in life, right? My first house, it was out in Mount Druitt. I bought it and I did a little reno, right? I'll paint and whatever. Just so excited, fucking painted, got brothers to help me, whatever.
Yeah.
And then my mum said to my brothers, oh, the roof looks like it moved, right? And my brother goes, there's nothing wrong with the roof, right? And it was like a timber post, right? And he got the hammer and he tapped it. Right? And then my mum's like, the fucking roof's sagging, right? And my other brother goes, yeah, the roof's fucking moving, right? Anyway, they started peeling back and then dirt started falling out, right? Fucking termites eating the whole roof. Pest and Building Inspect didn't even pick it up.
Wow.
My whole house was full of termites, right? So then I had to renovate it and get it back to scratch, which I did all myself and my brother's help. It's all sweat equity shit that I didn't know. I was fucking, nowadays I'm like rough. People see me and say, oh, Birchy, right? But I was like, suit and tie clip and cufflinks and, it was very proper. And it was like, yeah, my mum calls me still to this day a pencil pusher. I'm like, fuck, I'm fucking building fences, I'm building houses, whatever, right? So it was at that point. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to build a granny flat here, right? So I built a granny flat. And I was broke as fuck, So I built a granny flat, turned the garage into a thing. And then I went around to secondhand houses and started pulling apart their houses. They had demo sales, right? They were like knocking them down. I'll be like, hey, Pat, you're knocking your house out of building your house. I'll give you $200 if I can spend the night just pulling shit off. I don't want to trespass, but there's a few things that I need to get. And you're like, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Second-hand toilet, rip out the carpet, take the I-beams out of the roof, take some roof sheeting off, take the 2 windows out of the extension of someone's bathroom off, right? And collect those parts. I built my granny flat from that. I couldn't even afford sticks of timber. I used not pallets, not the pallets you'd think, but plumber's pallets, right? So plumber's pallets, where you get the big white piping or whatever, and then you got the metal straps and you got the 4 pieces of timber, right? I used plumber's fucking pallets. Took it out, knocked the fucking nails out of this fucking shit, screw them together with plate, strong, right? But I had to fucking eat shit. I built my granny flat, rented them out. All good. The neighbour dobbed me in for building a granny flat, right? So the council come along and go, it's a legal granny flat, you got to rip it down. Fuck, this thing ain't going nowhere, right? So like, I was stuck on that thing. It was just shit. And then I was buying other properties and I'm like broke as fuck. I couldn't afford anything. I was on like 40 grand a year. I'm, hustling, working a second job, and then bought a second one, a third one. And then I finally got it DA approved as a granny flat. I had to connect it. It was like an extension. It made it like a duplex, really. And like most people would have just packed their ball up and got the shits and gone, oh, this is all too hard, right?
Yep.
But I'm like, I'm so far into this, I ain't fucking going back. It's there's a fight. It was like a war. It was like World War II or something. It's in one of those books. It's like, those fucking those football teams, whatever, they pump their chest up and that. And it's a war that was fought, and there was the boats rocked into the harbour, right? And then the chief of the war, it was like World War II or something, and he burnt all the fucking boats, right? And said, look, you're here, you're going to fucking, there's no going back on that fucking thing, right? Like, if you go back on that, you've got the thought, I can hop on the boat and run away, you're going to get shot in the head, right? You have to fucking win this war or you're dead, right? And as I committed myself, whenever I do something, you've seen it, Pat, in the last 5 years, I've got myself in lots of troubles over the years, right? Just like pushing too hard, buying too many motels, getting in a headlock from, too much commitment, whatever. And it's like, I've got to find my way out, right? And it's like, I'll stand there and I'll fight that battle. And it's happened. And it's like a little battle turns into a bigger battle and a bigger battle. And no way has the journey ever been easy. It's just been new challenges, and you have to become stronger to face that challenge. And so.
And I reckon that's, again, just to bring it back to these investors that have 20 or more.
Yeah.
It seems that these particular people are so experienced now with being able to differentiate between a really important problem that's actually going to impact the portfolio, or just a minor problem, that can be fixed very easily. And so what I've found is that often when there's too much analysis, any problem is too big of a problem, and therefore they do nothing.
People think it's risk-free, right? Everything's got a risk, right? The risk that you have is you're going to work 40 years of your life and lose all the fucking free time of your youth. Your youth disappears, right? And you're going to sit there and you're going to go, oh, it's too risky, right? It's like your fucking biggest asset you've got is your life, and you're willing to risk that for the next 40 years of your life. Like, how do I get out of this shit? How do I, like, your motivation obviously isn't strong enough. You're happy with how things are. So you think that's stressful, right? Yeah. But like, when you put in perspective, right, like, you go to job for the next 40 years, you're going to have problems. You're going to get fucking sacked. You're going to be forced to jab yourself. You're going to be forced to fucking sit on a train for 3 hours a day to work and back. There's all these problems that's going to happen. You're going to lose your job because Corona hit, some shit, I don't know, right? There's challenges, right? What are you going to do in that situation? You've got one option. You've got a job. You've got a body. You have to sell your time, energy, effort, right? If I can have 10 fucking tenants going out earning money, paying me, and I'm being the tax man to them, the tax is the best system ever, right? How can I create my own tax system? Well, let's try and get seats for people to sit in, right? The property is the foolproof system that works, right? I've seen investors that have been on their journey, they buy 1 or 2 properties and they go, oh, the tenant didn't pay rent for the next 2 months. Of last month. It's like, okay, cool. So what's happening? I'm not going to buy another property until that tenant's paid their rent on time. So they might just be 2 weeks behind, 4 weeks behind, or whatever. And then 3 months later, oh, the tenant hasn't paid all the rent up to the specific dollar. It's like, well, they're still paying. They're a bit behind. Go, okay, it's $1,000 that I've got to pick up on the other side when the tenant moves out. How can you minimize it? Some people go, oh, I'm too scared the tenant may not pay me $1,000. You're looking at it wrong, right? I can't buy another deal. Well, you're letting a fucking tenant control your financial future because your fear, or you're letting them empower you by having a control over you, just like the fucking demon is in your mind and you're giving it life by letting it attack you. You're letting that tenant giving it life to control your life, right? I say, okay, cool. Well, how can we minimize that from happening? Got my landlord insurance, got my property management in place. Once you have systems and processes, just like any good business, treating your property investment like a business, having those processes in place, then you minimize. Like, if a tenant's going to do it, the agent will get the money back out. We've got their bond, put your process in place. You've got to have trust in the system. It's like, imagine hundreds of staff and I'm like, hey, let's, I don't trust anything anyone's doing, then fucking what? I'm not going to be successful. So you need to learn how to scale. And, we talk about sort of a business hat on, because I talk about investing like a business. It's like, I ain't putting together the B.Invested website, right? I could probably do it, but there's people that can do it a lot better. So that's what I need them to do. I need them to effectively do that, right? This video ain't going to get chopped up. I could chop it up. It can look like the old school ones, but we need to have processes in place. And as an investor, you want to be successful. You need to scale and leverage not just money, but time, resources, I think delegation is one of the biggest keys to success, having capable people and processes. And planning is just like having a business plan. Your goal, instead of it being the dream or the nightmare you got to get yourself out of that the world's fucked, it's like, well, I need to turn that into an action plan. I need to have a business plan behind my vision.
An old mentor of mine,
Yeah.
which we're both familiar with, he had a great saying, of you can give same two individuals, you can give two individuals the same piece of advice.
Yeah.
One will run with it and succeed with it.
Yeah.
And the other will fuck it up.
Yeah.
2 ways from Sunday, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Point is, how many of the same properties have we presented to multiple people? Maybe let's say 6 clients. There might be 2 clients that just simply don't respond. There might be 2 clients that and ah about it.
Yeah.
And then 2 clients that are kind of left, they both say yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And or they're both interested in that kind of deal. But what about those other 4 or effectively 5 people out of the 6 that don't get that deal? But there's that one person and they see the value, they run with it, they succeed, they build their portfolio, they scale up, and they keep moving. And that's what it's about.
Like the Matrix, right? Just plug me back in and give me the blue pill and I'll be happy and forget that it ever exists. They don't even know. They don't even know the world exists out there. They're in a little bubble. They've got no idea. They don't believe it. They don't know it. They don't see it. They don't they can't picture it. It's outside their realm of knowledge. It's like you talk another language.
I don't get too negative on the podcast or anything. I don't think this is an important topic, I reckon. But I also think that, like, shout out to all the investors that we have that are those action takers, right? That are the people that say, like, guys, I've given you what my goal is. Yeah. You just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Yeah. Right? If I was a personal trainer at a gym, if my client was overweight and they wanted to get fit, I'd be very confused if they came to me and said, "Oh no, I don't really want to go on a diet. Yeah, I don't want to do push-ups.
That's all too hard.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that." Whereas the client who just says, "Man, this is a struggle. This is a challenge, but let's have it. Like, I want to get fit. I don't want to be unhealthy. I want to be there for my kids in 30 years old."
That's your diabetes, your blood pressure, your fucking old age, your broken hips. You don't pay the price today, right? You're going to pay it in the future, yeah. And your health is one example. And once again, you go to a personal trainer, and you got a fat fuck of a personal trainer that's sitting there. It's like, are you going to really take advice from that person? Are they going to really get you successful? They can't even get themselves successful, right? So the people that you're taking this advice from, right, whether it's your broke mentality in your head that's telling you, oh, it's too scary, or it's your fucking uncle that's like, oh, you should do what I've done, come down the pub and fucking have a beer, mate. Like, where's your advice? Where's your structure? Like, it's much more people. Yeah, you've got properties. There's fucking millions of properties in the country, right? There's lots of broke fucking people too. And there's lots of unsuccessful people. And there's lots of people that aren't retired. And there's lots of people that have no financial future that can't retire at 60. And there's people that eat fucking dog food for breakfast, lunch and dinner. There's people who live under a fucking bridge, right? The bridge that the homeless person sits on, that's some person's balance sheet. That's their asset, right? That's someone's asset, right? Some homeless person's living under a bridge. They're fucked, right? And then the bridge is worth 10 million, 20 million. The land in the Sydney Harbour Bridge worth $1 billion, whatever, right? But that's out there. It's like people, the property ain't going to make you successful. Your strategy is, yeah?
Totally. Yeah.
You want to buy a property, use realestate.com. You don't need us, right? You want to build wealth. That's where we come in and we get the deals below market value. That's where our greatest value is. Yeah.
Some people, again, it's great to see the properties that we bought, not just 10 years ago, but now sort of 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, a year ago. Yeah. Few months ago.
Exactly.
Just do really well. And I'm actually really happy for the people that are there, jumping in and doing good for themselves.
There's never a day for me when I retired from the job there was never a day confetti fell from the ceiling and it was like, congratulations. There was no one there with a fucking megaphone to go, oh, here's your fucking novelty check, go and retire, right? Go and have a great life. There was nothing. There was fucking nothing, right? So my goal of getting to 10, I thought it was impossible to get to 10. I got to 10, I was like, I'll get to 20, right? And that's where the realignment of the goals occurred. But there was never a day. So you said to your clients, you want to do a shout out to the ones that said yes, right? Well, they've got choices, they've got options. They may not realize it today, right? But when they get a struggling situation, they see someone else have that same faced with adversity. Yeah, it's been a bit tougher, right? They've had to go to the gym, they've got a bit of a sore arm because they're doing push-ups, whatever. 510, right? Yeah, fuck, I never realized how tiny the small part of the wealthiest population is that I've
172 out of 26 million.
However many there is this week, right? They keep bringing more in, and that's
Not
great.
bad.
They're making us richer. Keep bringing more people in. Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess we've covered off on goals and outcomes that people want to come into when they're getting started. Like, is it passive income? Is it everybody's goals different? That's what they need to break down. We might do another podcast on goals for 2025, and people can always contact you and the team to find that. Breaking it down from bite-sized pieces. Like, how can we do that? The mindset of how you look at things, first steps. If someone was to get started with first steps, Pat, like what would they do? What would be the first step to building if you look at the top 10 clients that have got great success, and the great success might be that they're only at 5 so far, but they've had adversity or some problem that they've overcome. What would be the common trait that you'd see with the 150 people out of 172 we know?
I would say the common thread is that you've got to have a broad perspective of what to expect, right? So it's not about the first property. It's not about the second. It's not about the fifth.
Yeah.
Probably not about the 10th.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We got to have a broad perspective around this is just another step, another step, another step, another step, and let's get there, right? So you're not going to climb Mount Everest in 2 or 3 steps, right? There's going to be a whole bunch of things that you need to do. And so, look, in terms of like the first steps for people to come on board and actually buy a property. Yeah. Ultimately, it comes down to basically the nuts and bolts. We need something that's got good equity potential, strong cash flow, upside for growth.
But that's the property. Like, let's break it down a step. Like, people research, right? Let's just say someone researches. They're sitting on the internet. They're like, how to get wealth in property, right? Googling this shit, right? And then they're Googling it, and what do they find? Oh, you should buy a property in a nice street, or you should buy this, right? They're all just taboo things, right? Like, what education, like, should people be looking at what suburb to buy? Should they be looking at a house versus unit? Should they subdivide? Should they, or
no,
should that
they should be understanding that although building the asset base is ultimately very, very important, understand how that asset base is going to grow. So you might have your own broker, you might not have a broker, and if you do, give us a call, we'll get you in touch with Zinger. Yeah. But understand like what your servicing is. Understand what you'd need to continue to service, or at least stretch out your borrowing capacity and get the best bang for buck as your portfolio grows. Understand the mechanics about how everything works.
Your income?
What's your income?
What are your expenditure?
All this stuff is ultimately just logistics around how to grow a portfolio quicker and a more reliable portfolio too. Yeah. But understand the mechanics, because it's not just about buying a $500,000 house renting for $550 a week. Yeah. That's going to get you stuck very quick. Yeah. It's too heavy. It's a very heavy loan to carry. Yeah. And then expect a result over here. That's not aligned to the goal that you're after. Yeah. So that's important too. Understand what your goal is. Okay, what do I have to line up in order to get there? So yeah.
And timing, like we talk about it like packets of chips. Like, you've given some examples of people that are, bought 40 in 3 years and 25 in a year and stuff like that. Like, if I was to look at the average, if I went back through the data of B.Invested, like the 20-odd thousand properties we've bought, the investors that we've helped out, I'd say that on average, they'd get a few properties a year, 3, 4 properties a year would be average. And the entry price, 200, 250 purchase prices. The average time to double, I actually did some numbers on this recently, like double would happen within about 24 months and triple would be 36 to 48 months would be the average for a property to triple. And they're really crazy numbers when we look at. We don't make any, a little disclaimer on it, we don't make any claims that they will double, triple.
Yeah, but looking at the data that all
that's happened,
that has happened,
not just of 2 years, of 20 years.
That's right. That's right. So, and a lot of people that I speak to maybe for the first time, and I asked them that. I said, "What's your expectation for these properties to double?"
Yeah,
and they said, "Oh, well, look, in 10 years that'd be pretty cool."
Yeah,
right. So that's the common expectation out there.
I still think if it doubles in 10 years, that's cool. Right?
Yeah, of course.
That's cool.
And if we talk about the $1 million property versus a $200,000 property,
yeah,
I'm not saying that $1 million property won't grow. It probably will, and it probably will double in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
But what we're trying to achieve is 3 to 5 years. Yeah. That's my usual expectation, like 3 to 5 years. For these properties bought at 200, 250, 300 to double.
Yeah.
Right. So the cool thing about those cheaper properties is you can buy more of them. So your debt and your leverage can grow, and therefore in 3 to 5 years, your debt all of a sudden might be $3 million worth of property, $3 million worth of debt, but in 3 or 4 or 5 years,
still got the $3 million worth of debt, and it's worth 7, 8, 10
million. 6. So if you buy a $3 million house, is that going to
go to 6? And how much is it going to cost you to hold that period of time?
Exactly.
$3 million property, let's say 20% deposit, you're going to have to put in 600 grand, 200 grand stamp duty. So you have to put 800 grand in. You've got a $2.4 million loan. You're looking at about 15, 16 grand a month in interest for that period of time. Like that's 150K a year after tax.
It'd crush you. Well, it'd crush the everyday person, right? So this kind of circles back well in terms of like, you got to look at growth isn't everything. It's so important, of course, but growth without like sustainable income is kind of a recipe for disaster. So you need a portfolio that's safe and maintainable and functional.
It actually takes me back to something I've thought about, because I was thinking about some clients. I've got a chat tonight with a lady that she worked at Bunnings for like 50K a year.
Yeah.
Like rent now is like, I don't know, probably like 150 grand a year, 130 grand a year, right? And our investors, that we work with, like they come to us for 50 grand and that's what they got as an income, or 100 grand income. And what would you say the average person's income would be that you deal with on a daily basis?
80, 70.
70, 80K, right? So it's just average, right? So people think, I can't do much with that, right? But when you have the right strategy, you build a business plan around and go, okay, cool, that's how I'm going to get there. And even when I tell people, we'll get 10 in the next 3 years and we'll get another 5 afterwards and stuff. And like, I think the shock of it was like, fuck, 10, like I only want 2, right? Yeah. It's like 2 ain't going to get you retired. But it's like after 5 times and you've said it, and after they've bought 2 steps and they've pulled equity, when they first rip their equity out, I think it's like their first kid having sugar for the first time. Go, I want chocolate like that fucking baby dinosaur Sinclair off. Do you remember the dinosaur show? No. Those little Land Before Time or something. The dinosaurs. It's called the dinosaurs. I'm the baby, not the mama, right? There's a scene where he has like the fucking ice cream. He's like, he goes crazy on ice cream, right? And sugar, cookies, lollies. Like that hit that the baby dinosaur got, it's the same hit. Maybe we can insert the little scene here of baby dinosaur, right? With that hit, like we just seen on the little clip, that's when you get your equity. It's like, fuck, like it makes sense. It's like it's cool. Let's go. And we've seen people that's at that point, like they've just come in. I think I've seen it like maybe half the amount of times with people, 50% of the time, that it's at that point when they first get their first. It's like, wow, right? It's like that's what sets them off on the trajectory of going parabolic.
Well, it's a bit of proof.
Yeah.
Right? It's a bit of proof that, okay, well, we're on
the right track.
Yeah, we're on the right track here. So, let's keep it rolling, basically.
We can say these things a million times over, right?
And we do.
We do it, right? But we can just say it, and it is words, right? But it's not until the person comes up, calls us and says, let's make it happen. And it's cool, right? But then when it happens, that's a totally different story because then it's real, it's tangible at that point. And timing in the market, do you think you need to be in the market for a certain amount of time? Do you think there's a point of waiting or not waiting or?
No, I think I heard a saying that the best time to buy property was yesterday, but the second best time is today.
Yeah.
So in terms of waiting for your window of opportunity into the market, like forget it. There's never a perfect time.
Yeah.
Some people wait, I want to wait till the interest rates come down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, but you're going to be paying $50,000 or $100,000 more for the same thing.
All the competition there, right?
So is there a perfect time to get in, to time the market? No, but I think there's research and certain considerations into certain markets. Like, am I paying too much?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we wouldn't buy on the Gold Coast right now.
Not at all.
But other people do, and there are things for sale, right?
Oh, it's got 5 years of track growth of having 20% every year. And so, okay, you're buying risks. That's what you're doing. You're taking risk onto your balance sheet.
Risk, totally. So, like, timing the market, I don't know. I think it's more just about research and understanding the data, and again, like you say, like treating it like a business decision. You know?
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that, Pat. Is there any comments for the listeners or any feedback?
Nothing that we haven't already covered, I don't think.
Okay, cool.
But just for everyone out there that's buying or thinking of buying, like, just get onto it, stay on track, and me and Nath will get you there to your goals.
There's conversations that you've had over the last 5 years. There's conversations that I've had over the last 20 years with investors and whatnot. And sometimes those things lead to the people that come to us and we've built large portfolios. There's people that have tried to do it themselves. The numbers are, when you have guidance and help, you get there much easier, quicker and safer and whatnot. It all just starts with a conversation. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm sick and tired of this shit, I don't want to go to work in 2025, something's not right, I want to change my life, it all starts with a conversation. So on that little note, we're going to kind of wrap it up there and say, if you need help, starting place is finding people that have got the same interests, same goals, and know how to get you there. So that's what we specialize in. You can hit us up at 1300-367-925, admin@B.Invested.com.au. If you email or call us on those numbers, your call will go through to Patrick or one of Patrick's colleagues on the team. So that's probably a good starting place. You have chats with people. You speak to people. Not every single person that calls us comes on as a client, right? They might use finance, or they might go use a property management, or they may use this for nothing. They might go, this all sounds too weird, and I'll go buy 2 properties over here, and then we speak to them again 5 years later. Yeah. And we never know where a conversation is going to go. So if you do have that question of where to, reach out to the team. We're here to help. We have the numbers, the stats on the board for for what's actually happened. Been doing it for 20 years. 22 years I've been an investor. So, thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for watching us throughout 2024. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, topic ideas that you want to hear in 2025, drop your comments below. Remember to subscribe. Find us every Thursday on Google Play, Apple Play, Spotify, and YouTube. Have a great one, guys. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Like Bilal said, man, we stuck in the matrix. This my advice, don't care if you take it. The dollar back to die, soon to be hyperinflated.